Yeah. Thank you very much, Jamie. And let me use this opportunity to thank the organizers of this conference. One, to thank you for having me here. Two, for trying to clear my own mess, because Nigeria, I think, has the highest rate of trafficking when it comes to women. And I have been a woman advocate for a long time. WOGI was founded 2000. That's 17 years ago. We started with Widows' Right. From Widows' Right, we started talking about reform, widow bills, to now economic empowerment. I don't think we could have gotten to the level we are today without Gala. It's relatively very new, but the trafficking came into existence in our operation by the help of Gala. And that's why I think I can say big thanks to Jamie for letting me be here. Let me not use up my time in talking about how I came here, but to tell you what wonderful work you are doing. We have a stigma in Nigeria today. To come to this conference, we applied for visa. More than half of us could not get the visa. Very few of us got the visa to come in. We are all suspects before you are thoroughly screened and allowed to come in. I've been traveling since I was a kid, lived in US, traveled around the world, but each time I came to Italy, I found my passport lying in the embassy for more than 3 weeks. And that's because of trafficking. It wasn't like that originally, but it's a recent phenomenon that has entered the system. Now, going back to what Jamie asked about compensation, we have a robust law in Nigeria on trafficking. We have the agency for trafficking. But the problem is how well is the law being used in the system? I'll drag you back to our section 65, right to compensation or restitution. I quote, "A trafficked person, irrespective of his immigration status, is entitled to compensation, restitution, and recovery for economic, physical, and psychological damages, which shall be assessed and paid out of forfeited assets of the convicted trafficker." Now, convicted assets of a trafficker. How do we know the victims? There is no record published by the agency on those who have been prosecuted and convicted, or assets that have been attached, money recovered. The victims have no knowledge of what is going on, and yet it is stated here they are to claim from there. I would suggest that EU, those who actually participate in funding in Nigeria, should make it mandatory for publication on those convicted and money recovered. Then, secondly, where an offender is convicted of an offense under this act, the court may order the offender to pay compensation to the victim in addition to any other punishment ordered by the court. This goes to the root of compensation for the victim. How many of the victims know that they have that civil right, the other right? Because the first and foremost, what even me as a lawyer, all we were thinking was the prosecution, criminal prosecution of the offenders. Little did we know that there's opportunity for a legal right for the victims. This is where legal aid comes in, pro bono comes in, because the agency cannot, is just focused on the criminal angle. The victims do not even know. It is now the duty of the pro bono lawyers, the legal aid group to go in and assist the victims privately, individually. And that answers her question. As you gather your victims under your shelter, you will definitely know whether they have opportunity of knowing the traffickers, whether they have been convicted or not. If they have been convicted, then the legal aid, the pro bono lawyers can come in to file damages for the victim. Then, it is easier said than done. As I said, the law is there. Can I tell you something? We have Victims of Trafficking Trust Fund. Listen to they said it should be established. And money, all money received, government budget, aids, grants, whatever sort of money for trafficking is plowed into this victims fund. The agency, NATIP, is supposed to manage, is supposed to use the funds. But it says here, the minister shall make regulations and issue guidelines for the management of the fund established under this section. The trust fund shall be utilized to pay compensation, restitution, and damages to trafficked persons and to fund victim support services for trafficked persons. And yet, the DG of the organization has no right to authorize any payment that is more than $1,200, equivalent to 500,000 naira at a time. So she has to clear with the ministries, and there are two ministries, Ministry of Justice and Finance, but the overriding problem is the Ministry of Justice that controls the funds for the victim. This is why we have a big setback in the war against trafficking in Nigeria. The agency cannot perform without having a little, if not comprehensive, autonomy to its resources to operate. We also here advocate, we have what we call EFCC. That is the angle that is in charge of tracing or tracking money laundering. Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. They have complete autonomy and they are quite effective. Unless NATIP is allowed to run his own administration, should be monitored, there is hardly much they can do. Then they said, again, the Trust Fund Committee, it's not just the minister alone. There's a committee, again, established that must meet to confirm the amount to be given to the victims or to NATIP before it is released. The problem I have here is this. In my country, retirees find it difficult to reach their money. What I mean by civil servants who have worked hard enough for the country, retired, find it difficult to get their money, which they contributed to. I wonder how easy it will be for a small, inconsequential, uneducated probably, or less educated human being, trafficked, traumatized, can ask for funds. These, I think, are the bottlenecks. And I also now refer you to my paper, which I said the arrow points. We have a lot of bottleneck. Corruption, as I said, is a major problem in Nigeria. It's not just corruption in terms of removing the money, but we are talking in terms of corruption along the line. The traffickers have opportunity because there are no records. They buy their way out. We don't know who comes in, who has gone, who have been prosecuted or not. So that's part of the corruption we are talking about. Then we have our own little cultural problem. That is why when I listen to Canada, I say, you are lucky, you are advanced. I don't think we can operate this way you're operating. So in Nigeria, we have a culture where family support was a major way of assisting the poor rural people who had so many children and they cannot maintain them. They send their children out to their relations in the cities. It worked well initially because the relations in the city give these children opportunity to be well educated. But now the game changed. Economic recession, there is so much poverty in the system. Instead of these children being sent to school, they're now hawk on the street for the masters. And most of them are now not being sent to the big, so-called big relations. There are either struggling families taking them, and from there, they are trafficked. An example, we rescued a young girl whose mother sent for a domestic distance. She was badly beaten up. A hot iron was used on her stomach. We now took her to NATIP. When she got there, NATIP now invited the lady. I'm sure the lady is a highly placed lady. She paid her way through and got away with it. But I know she paid money, compensation to NATIP. Now the next thing was, the mother was brought in because to release the woman, they wanted the mother to confirm that this girl was given to this lady by her. So when the mother came, she confirmed it and said that the woman was to pay her 10,000 naira every month. And this is like $25 a month. And for that reason, your daughter is subjected to that inhuman treatment. So when eventually she was now warned to take her daughter back and never to give her up again, she traced my own phone, the one who did the capturing of the daughter, and called me and said, "Thank you very much for saving my daughter, but can you now start sending me money to maintain her?" Not NATIP, but me, my own NGO, now to fund it. So what I am trying to say here is that the economic situation in the system has necessitated so much. The domestic, we have trafficking internally. That is why it seems as if the government is paying a little bit of lip service to even the outside one, because there is a lot going on. I know of a particular occasion where over 296 children between age 4 and 12 were caught being moved with a truck like cattle in Nigeria within the system. Now, the next problem we have is awareness creation. There is no way we can fight this without making awareness, publicity, very crucial. A situation like this, please, I expect 1, 2, 3 journalists. If it's possible for them to come from, let me use my country, Nigeria, to listen to what is going on and publicize it. We don't get any information on trafficking since Wycliffe introduced trafficking, and then that was the first time we learned about it. The agency has been formed, little or nothing is happening. And like I also said yesterday, we need the NATIP has to give us a database, please, for the work they're doing. If they do not give a database, then there is no hope for this, because you collect the money and it goes. And finally, on the issue of what to do, let me read down what I have put down for you as our own remedy, which we think, if you follow strictly, may go a long way to help us. I don't want to bore you with all other areas of our legal jargon, but recommendations, as we put up in our NATIP, should be given more administrative and financial autonomy and flexibility to operate and perform its functions as detailed in the trafficking law. The imprisonment time, I nearly forgot that, is so small. In Nigeria, maximum is 7 years. Whereas there are other crimes that are less than trafficking, will have life jail term, 10 years, 20 years. We advocate for more punishment for the offenders. Then 3, there should be more presence in the rural setting. When Jamie told me about this conference, I made sure that I was getting the National Council for Women's Society to attend. NATIP has offices in 7 regions, but the National Council of Women's Society, they have presence in every state of the Federation, and they were capable of being able to infiltrate, reach the rural areas. This is where the church again comes to play. And I am so happy I'm a Catholic. The Catholic Church has a role to play. We are the only church that goes into the rural setting to look at, to do our church services. The Pentecostal churches are in the big cities. The Catholic Church is the fundamental church now to really help us fight in the rural setting. It is very crucial because Catholic moves, whether there is money or not, they penetrate without minding whether there are profits there or not. Then we also advocated, okay, I said religious institutions. NATIP, on behalf of the federal government, yes, should circulate annual reports on the activities they have carried on throughout the previous year. Now, having talked on this, let me say how I intend that WOGI should be able to assist. 1, when we go back, I think there is need for us to have a group of legal aid, that's the pro bono lawyers, which should be made up of, incidentally, we have Catholic Lawyers Association. We don't have to wait for NATIP any longer, and the NGOs must be encouraged. We believe that even coming to this conference, we have the sister here who is involved in settlement, Wycliffe that is involved in both settlement and other activities. We are lawyers for research, advocacy, so all of us with other NGOs that are interested in trafficking should be able to hold a little national workshop where we can now streamline and assist the agency to do the needed as far as the trafficking is concerned. I think I will stop here until I'm given time to answer questions. Thank you very much.